Hi, I'm Mr. Wahlberg, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome back to the Intro to Rhetoric. Today we're back in Unit 2 of the first 3 strategies, and we're in Part 6 about establishing credibility. We have one objective today. By the end of this class, you should be able to identify various types of credibility. We're going to begin in Roman numeral number 8. Now, first, I want to talk about expertise versus experience. They're not the same thing, although they sound like they are. They're actually not the same thing. Let's begin with an expert. An expert is a person that has training in a particular area. He or she has some authoritative knowledge, and it's to be an expert is good. It's good to have some training on the subject. Somebody who has studied a subject for 20 years is far more credible than somebody with 30 minutes of Googling on the subject, right? Like they're an expert, they have studied it and have extensive training onto it. I think of this as a person who is fresh out of teacher school in their first year of education. They have expertise. They have studied education and they are up to speed with the most contemporary methods and learning on the subject. Experience is different. Experience is about a person's life experience, the stuff that they've gone through. A person who has experience has significant practice on the subject. If somebody has worked in the field for 20 years, they're more credible than a person on his or her first day. Now, sometimes experience means that somebody doesn't have the same level of expertise. Maybe a veteran 20-year teacher doesn't actually know the contemporary practices or the modern research on a subject the same way that a person would on the first day of teacher school. But we might also say that an expert has, seen the elephant, and they know what works in education, and they know how it works with teaching. The same thing happens in medicine. A person fresh out of med school knows the current science on a subject, but a veteran physician knows how things work in his or her patients, and they actually know they have seen more medical needs. So they're both important. They're not the same thing. They are different kinds of levels of care. Now, which one is better? Expertise is more important on general topics, on broad things. If you wanted to talk about maybe the current cancer research, then expertise is better on that because it's talking about the field in general. But if I'm talking about, say, my family member, then I want experience within that subject, right? It's far more important with specific ones. So, they're different fields and they have different strengths: general versus specific, experience versus expertise. Knowledge, like learning versus practice. They're both crucial parts of it. Subpoint B, I want to talk about good character. A person with good character is known for trustworthiness. People with, a reputation for being fair-minded or honest, they have credibility. They have real credibility, even among people who disagree with them. And I think maybe a good example is United States Senator Mitt Romney. There's a lot of people that disagree with Romney. I mean, he's a politician, and there's people that disagree with politicians. But nobody disagrees that Mitt Romney has the best interests of his people or the best interests of America in mind. Now, whether or not he's achieving them is certainly debatable in politics, but nobody also thinks that Mitt Romney is usually a bad guy. People think that he's, an honest person who wants to do right by people. They might validly disagree with his positions on things, but he has good character. Nobody thinks that he is, secretly a scoundrel, right? Or most people don't think that he's some kind of a scoundrel or deceptive person. He's known to be a trustworthy person. It's also worth noting that good character isn't permanent, and it certainly can change. I think of people my generation who thought of the actor, Bill Cosby as like America's dad, that, he was seen as super trustworthy, and it turns out later actually kind of a dirtbag and not trustworthy, interpersonal things at all. Actually, kind of a dangerous person. I don't think that's the situation with America's current dad aging into being America's grandpa, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks, is just seen as a trustworthy person. He has good character. The roles that he takes are usually the good guy. And if he is the bad guy, he's usually a bad guy who's kind of a good guy. Like he's a policeman trying to catch the bad guy who's the hero of the movie. So like he's the antagonist, but he's still somebody we'd cheer for. And that's a way of establishing good character as well. People think of Tom Hanks as a guy that is, a trustworthy person. He's an actor. He makes his living out of, acting, but he seems to have earned that in the public eye. It's a good example of good character. So point C is goodwill. And this is slightly different. It's not the same thing as being a good person. It's more like establishing a connection or a desire for a connection with an audience. It includes being attractive or being similar or being relating to people, or projecting kindness or having the it factor, the je ne sais quoi of like the person just has it. Take for example Cristiano Ronaldo, the highest paid athlete on earth. He has goodwill that people just like, yeah, the guy hustles real hard and he's a good player and he's remarkably good looking. And I love this ad that we're showing here of him sitting with Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer just sends him watches. He's not a paid spokesperson. And then, he says thank you by taking pictures of them and putting them on his Instagram. Why? Do I think that, Cristiano Ronaldo has a particularly good sense of timekeeping? Like, no, I don't. I don't think of him as like some kind of like NASA level timekeeper, but I think Cristiano, he seems like a good decision maker. I would trust his subject on this. Or take for instance, Snoop. I look at Snoop and I say I don't think of Snoop as I don't think of him as a scoundrel or a bad guy. I don't dislike the guy, but I don't have really high hopes for his character. I don't know anything about him. He's a successful artist and businessman, and I can leave it at that. But I do think that Snoop probably has good taste in snacks. I think he's probably an authority on snacks. So if he does a commercial for Dunkin' Donuts, I think, goodwill. I can associate Snoop with good... he's an aficionado for snacks. He's a man that probably knows something about some donuts. That's goodwill. It's connecting with an audience. It's part of persuasion for it. It's not. I don't think he's an expert in the donut business. I don't think he has, experience in the, day-to-day going out and making the donuts. But yeah, he can connect with an audience, and in that way has a certain appeal to him. Snoop is not a sexy man. He's not beautiful in the same way that like Cristiano Ronaldo is. But he has goodwill on the subject. And lastly, we'll talk about charisma. Charisma is very hard to define, and I think about this as a performance teacher. Like, how do you project charisma? How do you do it on stage? How do you do it in a classroom? As a teacher, I think about this all the time. And it's charisma is hard to define, but it's when a person projects an active image, and energetic, like a connection to an audience, while adapting to the audience. And I really think that's the heart of it, like showing good excitement while paying attention to the audience in front of him or her. You can't fake charisma. You can't. Trust me. I wish you could, but you can't. You can't fake charisma. It's not physical. It's not verbal. It's not visual. You can't, wear charismatic clothes. You can't use charismatic words. It's just. It's fungible. It's intangible. They're related. People who have charisma usually do those kinds of things. Mostly, I'm convinced it's empathy. Mostly, it's the ability to adapt to the audience, to read an audience, and to know what they want of them. I take, for example, a few people in the public sphere. Barack Obama, former United States President Barack Obama, might be the most charismatic person I have ever seen. I've ever seen. Policies aside, we'll set aside public policy and politics and all of those things. Barack Obama has it factor. You just wish you knew him. You just wish you would hang out with him. He seems like a cool guy, and he does an exceptional job of adapting to audiences, and he does it kind of in every moment of it. Donald Trump, again, set aside the policy, set aside, like the public persona. Donald Trump has charisma. He has energy to it. He adapts well to an audience, and people seem to want it, and they want to gravitate to it. Contrast him with, say, Joe Biden. Joe Biden absolutely has no charisma, none at all. He is one of the least charismatic people that I have seen in the public eye since Hillary Clinton. There's no charisma to him at all. You might appreciate his policies, you might dislike his policies. That's not quite the subject, but he just, particularly as Joe Biden has aged, he seems to have lost whatever connection he had with an audience. There was times that Biden had a little more spunk than others, but particularly this late stage Joe Biden is just not charismatic at all. He seems to have entirely lost his ability to connect with an audience in a meaningful way onto it. And all of those things are about establishing credibility. You might think that a person who has charisma might not have credibility on a subject. It's several ways to do it. Or the other way around. You might think like this person has no charisma, but has established credibility in other ways for it. There's many approaches that a rhetor could take to establishing credibility of earning that ethos. And they certainly need it. It is an essential part of persuasion to it. There's a lot more to this subject. There's a lot more to persuasion, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. Make sure you like and subscribe. God bless you.